Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are creating the perfect 11 for fantasy football. To be clear, this is not the best Premier League 11, but one that fits into the game's £100 million budget. Let's get started. Goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy, £5 million. Currently selected by over 24% of fantasy football players at the time of writing, the logic of picking Mendy is clear. Whilst we can understand why people would want to select Alisson or Edison given their league-high 21 clean sheets last term, if you want to save £0.5 million on your keeper, Edouard Mendy is the guy to go for. Third for clean sheets last term with 16, level with Lurie, who costs £500,000 more. Mendy has performed admirably since arriving in the Premier League, keeping clean sheets in 46% of his league games over the last 2 seasons, 11% more than the next most popular £5 million pick, Ramsdale, in 21-22. Chelsea's restructured defence might take some time to gel, but we believe the return of Chilwell and the addition of the world-class Koulibaly should hold it in good stead until the inevitable new signings follow. Having conceded 7 fewer goals than every team bar Liverpool and City last term, we believe the Senegalese Man Mountain is a safe bet between the sticks. Defender, Trent Alexander-Arnold, £7.5 million. Sometimes in an effort to have a point of difference against your rivals, fantasy football managers overthink it. In the case of Trent Alexander-Arnold, you simply have to have him in your side. The 4th most popular pick in the game behind Gabrielle Zeus, Haaland and Salah, we are surprised he's not number 1. Valued at £7.5 million, the same as Antonio, Bamford and Jadon Sancho, despite being the game's 3rd highest scorer in 21-22 behind Salah and Son, refusing to pick Trent is asking for trouble. He's missed just 11 league games over the last 3 seasons, and in 3 of the last 4 campaigns he's provided at least 12 assists. With 18-year-old Calvin Ramsey as backup, he's unlikely to be rested unless in exceptional circumstances. If he replicates his form from last term where he averaged 0.4 expected assists per 90, a figure topped only by De Bruyne, you can expect bucket loads of assists, the odd goal and plenty of clean sheets. Defender, Ivan Parisich, £5.5 million. Whilst Reece James is a very solid option at £6 million, given the fact we have already chosen his teammate Mendy and could therefore risk 2 players missing out on clean sheets, we've instead opted for Spurs' new boy Ivan Parisich. The 4th most popular defender in the game right now, the 33-year-old wingback is a sensible addition. Orchestrated by the excellent Conte, who has been backed in the market with 6 new signings and with games against 2 newly promoted sides and Southampton in their first 6 fixtures, it's the right time to back the Lilywhites. A key part of Antonio Conte's title-winning Inter Milan side in 2021, the former Bayern loanee took his game to new levels last term, contributing 15 league goals from left wing-back, with Marseille new boy Jonathan Klaus the only defender to provide more in Europe. With Reguilon likely to be sold and Conte continuing to develop Sessegnon, Parisich is set to play the vast majority of their fixtures. He's a must-have. Defender, Kieran Trippier, £5 million. With Kane and Ronaldo the only strikers to end up in the top 20 highest point scorers last campaign, we believe it is worth starting out with a 4-4-2 this term. Joining our defensive fullbacks is Newcastle's Kieran Trippier. Unfortunate to miss 12 out of a possible 19 games from January with a knee injury, in his limited time on the pitch Trippier showed what he was capable of, helping to secure wins in 4 of the 6 games he featured in, providing 2 goals in the process. His 1.5 chances created per 90 was only topped by Richie, Saint-Maximin and Fraser in the Magpies lineup. Their transfer business might not have been as spectacular as people predicted, but in Botman and Pope they have upgraded at the back, and it's worth remembering their 44 points in 27 games under Howe last term was only bettered by 5 teams. If they continue at that rate this campaign, they'll finish with 61 points, good enough for a Europa League place in 21-22. If that materialises, Trippier will be a solid, low-cost option. Defender, Alexander Zinchenko, £5 million. With Kieran Tierney having missed 45 games across his 3 seasons in London, you simply can't rely on the Scot to stay fit. And given the fact he is currently out injured, and the Gunners have offloaded Nuno Tavares, it seems that their new £30 million signing Zinchenko will start the season at left back. Over the last few seasons, the competition at Man City has meant Zinchenko hasn't been in many people's rosters. But even so, he brought in 59 points last season, not far off Stones' 70. With Arsenal full of confidence after an excellent pre-season and only playing 2 games against last season's top 10 in their first 8 games, there is a good chance that Zinchenko can rack up significant points early. A capable creator, he provided 4 assists last term in just over 1,000 minutes. No surprise given he averaged 0.2 expected assists per 90, the same as Luis Diaz, Coutinho and Sancho. When Tomiyasu comes back, you could always switch him in and save £500,000, but for now we recommend backing the Ukrainian. Midfield, Mo Salah, £13 million. Look, leaving out Mo Salah might mean you can have 3 exceptional defenders or add another quality midfielder, but we don't think it's worth it. The departure of Mane and the Egyptians' bumper new contract suggests that the former Roma forward will continue to be one of the first names on the team sheet in 22-23. In fact, over the last 5 seasons he's played 180 Premier League games, 10 more than Son and 34 more than De Bruyne, the other high-cost options you might consider. Whilst we don't expect £52 million signing Richarlison to displace Son, he'll surely be a regular substitute at the end of games, potentially affecting the South Koreans' minutes running at tired defences. Meanwhile, De Bruyne has only played more than 2,300 league minutes once in the last 4 seasons, while Salah hasn't dipped below 2,700 since his return to England. And in terms of output, there is really no comparison, with Salah averaging 1.17 goals and assists per 90 last season, a tally that sat 5th in Europe's top 5 leagues, 0.2 more than De Bruyne and 0.3 more than Son, who rank below teammate Kulusevski. Salah is a dead cert, and for just £1 million more than Son and De Bruyne, he has to be in your team. Midfield, Luis Diaz, £8 million. With 4 of Liverpool's first 7 games coming at Anfield where they dropped just 8 points last year, and 2 of those away games against sides expected to struggle in Fulham and Everton, doubling up on another Reds midfielder is a smart move. We expect Nunez and Jota to split the majority of their minutes centrally, suggesting that if Luis Diaz gets off to a good start, he should get plenty of game time off the left. And there's no reason to suggest he won't make the most of it. 21-22 saw him contribute 4 goals and 3 assists in just 13 Premier League games, whilst averaging 0.6 expected goals and assists per 90. Just 0.1 less than Sadio Mane, who ended up with 18 goal contributions last term. If Diaz hits the same levels, 20 goals and assists shouldn't be out of reach. Of the other options at his price point, it's difficult to see them hitting the same tally. Kulusevski provided 13 last term, but his XG suggests that should have been closer to 7, and he'll now face competition from Richarlison. And after a troubling pre-season for Chelsea and an underwhelming summer at Leicester, we don't get the same confidence from Mount and Maddison. Diaz is a solid bet. Midfield, Riyad Mahrez, £8 million. Whilst the well-known Pep Roulette has agitated and confused fantasy football players for years, the simple facts are that Man City are very good and likely to win the majority of their games, and therefore Citizen stars are worthwhile investments. And this season the options in the medium price bracket at Man City are the envy of the league, with Foden, Gundogan, Bernardo and Grealish all valued between £7 million and £8 million. But whilst we back Grealish to improve on his fairly underwhelming 3 goals and 3 assists from last term, and Foden to continue his meteoric rise to superstardom, they are both likely to split minutes on the left. The situation on the right is clearer. With Sterling and Jesus having departed, Mahrez seems like he'll play the vast majority of minutes. The Algerian might be 31, but he's recently penned a new 2-year extension on the back of 11 goals and 5 assists last term, whilst operating at 0.6 expected goals per 90, a figure topped only by Salah, Sterling, Jota and Ronaldo. We back Mahrez for another big campaign in 22-23. Midfield, Marcus Rashford, £6.5 million. Coming off the back of Euro's disappointment and shoulder surgery, Rashford found the 21-22 campaign incredibly difficult. He only started 13 Premier League games with just 4 goals and 2 assists to his name in 1,200 minutes of action. A lot of people will look at that and think stay clear, but we think there's a massive upside of putting the 24-year-old in your side. Rashford will set you back just £6.5 million, a £3 million drop from 2 years ago, and a price point that puts him below Leicester's Barnes and on par with Eriksen, who's expected to be a rotation option at Old Trafford this season. With Cristiano Ronaldo's future unclear and Sancho, Rashford and Martial having shone in pre-season, the United Academy graduate seems worth the gamble. If he gets the chance and shows glimpses of his 2019 to 2021 form, when he contributed 44 Premier League goals, then he could prove to be this season's bargain. Forward, Gabrielle Zeus, £8 million. Taking into account the need for some half-decent substitutes, we've got around £20 million to play for our strike force, so if you're here for under-the-radar signings, we won't be able to help you out. However, costing just £8 million, it's almost impossible to ignore Arsenal new boy Gabrielle Zeus. The Brazilian is currently the most selected forward in the game, with almost 2/3 of managers picking him to lead the line for their fantasy sides. And it's not difficult to see why. Last season, in his final one with Man City, his 8 goals and 8 assists contributed to 120 points, 9th amongst the strikers, even scoring double the amounts of fellow £8 million men Calvert-Lewin, Timo Werner and Roberto Firmino. In fact, the 25-year-old has scored at least 115 points in each of the last 3 campaigns, despite barely starting half of the available minutes. Then there's the Gunners' start to the season, in which they only play one other top 7 club in their first 8 fixtures, including 2 newly promoted teams. If Mikel Arteta's men start 22-23 well, then Gabrielle Zeus is going to rack up considerable points early doors. Forward. Erling Haaland, £11.5 million. When it comes to a premium forward, there are 3 options: Harry Kane, Cristiano Ronaldo and Erling Haaland. And just like half the squads made so far this off-season, we've included Man City new boy Haaland. And really, can you blame us? The Norwegian comes off a campaign where he scored 29 goals at an average of 1 every 82 minutes. Sure, it was in the Bundesliga, but last season CR7 only managed to strike every 137. And even a 2017-18 Harry Kane, who netted 30 Premier League goals, scored just 1 every 102 minutes. The fact that it took the former Salzburg man just 12 minutes to get off the mark on his pre-season debut against Bayern Munich also feels like an ominous sign of things to come. We can't argue with the logic of picking Kane, especially on the back of a summer off, but Spurs played Chelsea on match week 2 before hosting Wolves, who had last season's 5th best defence. Meanwhile, Haaland takes on West Ham on Sunday, who are without new centre-back signing Agard, before City welcome Bournemouth the following week, who they have a 10 out of 10 record against, scoring 31 goals in the process. We recommend you join the fun and back the new boy. So guys, that was our perfect fantasy football 11. What did you guys think of it, and who did we miss out, and who are you going to pick? Let me know in the comments down below. Best of luck for this upcoming season, guys, and please remember to subscribe to Football Daily whilst you're at it, and we'll catch you next time.